Thank you very much to the organizers for the invitation extended to me to share something about my perspective, both professionally and more importantly as a parent with you all. My approach, in talking about this is to kind of talk about what has been in the past, what was in the past and what is now. What was the situation that we were in before? Ediri talk about the pandemic that has really forced us as parents to be more aware, or should I say, actually to confront new challenges where we are now stuck at home with our children. And a little background in the 70s, children get to be exposed to TV. What we had to deal with in the 70s, and that exposure usually start about 4 years of age. Today, children are exposed to media by 4 months. I'm also muted, Ediri. So children are also, talking in terms of average now. We're exposed about 4 years in the 70s, 4 months in today's world. In the last 2 decades, there was a very big study that was done here in the United States. The total number of children that were looked at were about 12,000. About half of them were less than 5, the other above 5. And what the study shows is that, there's a decrease in the amount of time that children are spending by the TV. This is what the parents reported. So this is reported parents' TV viewing. And, we were going to raise our hand and say, "Ooh, this is great," because the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended, about this amount, depending on which age you're talking about. But it's short-lived because it dawned on everybody very quickly that the decrease that we are noticed in this study is actually being exchanged for an increase in the amount of time and the access that children are having to mobile devices. So a study in 2011 showed that 52% of children between 0 to 8 years of age have access to a mobile device. That number increased to 75% by 2013, and I'm sure all of us can relate. And then some people thought, well, maybe this is just a problem of the Western world, developed world, developing countries, and that it's a reflection of, access to, money. You can buy these things, that's why. So there was a thought that maybe there is a divide across socioeconomic status. The answer to that is a big no. There is no divide in across socioeconomic status in terms of exposure and access to this pandemic that we're all facing. If there is any difference, that difference is going to be only in content and in access to Wi-Fi. But the exposure, the access was confirmed in a study that was done at a low-income pediatric clinics here, where you only have people who are on Medicaid going to those practices. That study found that 96% of children between the age of 0 to 4 years have access to a mobile device. That number increased to 75% that own their own device. That is a very good food for thought. And again, we can all relate to that. So what is media? When we talk about media, what is media? Basically, we can keep it simple. Interaction with a screen on any platform. And that includes watching TV, social media, app, the internet. Are there any benefit? Is it really, something that we should just, gather together and bury? There are benefits and there are opportunities, with this media. And again, media henceforth is going to be TV, tablets, smartphones, internet, video blog, YouTube, anything of that nature is now media, henceforth. The benefit and opportunities are there, but it depends on age as well as the developmental stage. One of the things I'm going to try to do in this discussion is to try to link physiology, that is who we are as human beings, to what is appropriate, who we are developmentally to what is appropriate. It also depends on the characteristics of the child. There are kids who are challenged, who actually could benefit from some media device, with genuine brain injury, speech, difficulties. There are certain, of those devices that could be beneficial. It also depends on how it is used. There's a lot of study that has confirmed that the most benefit, depending on the age of the child, could be when it is used with a parent, as opposed to being used without a parent. Also depends on the media content as well as the design. I'm sure we can all agree with that. Before we go on, the thing we're going to be talking about today, from what Ediri has shared with me, centers on screen time and as well as sleep. And before we really delve into that matter, I would like to kind of just highlight the importance of the brain in this discussion. Because whether it is exposure to screen, to media, whether it's sleep, the brain is very, very critical, very, very important in what's going to happen. So the human brain has waves that can be measured, and there are different types of waves. There are 4 types of waves that I want to talk about that will help our understanding of some of the conclusions that we can all draw by the time we finish this discussion. The first type is the delta wave. The delta wave is the most prominent wave. It's called slow wave. It's the most prominent wave that you find in the brain of newborn, right from when they were inside mommy to about 2 years of age. You can find it in adults when we are sleeping. But these waves, what is their characteristics? One of the important characteristics of the delta wave is that it's the same wave that you see in people who are induced into hypnosis. So hypnosis could be, it's one of those methods that have been used to treat some type of pain, to treat some type of phobia. It's actually a state of mind where the individual, even as an adult, can be told what is true, can be told what they should believe. It is the same way that is in place for those of us who have male children that have been circumcised. You will realize or remember that they were not given any pain medication. Nobody gave them anesthesia to do circumcision, but they were cutting their skin. They would probably give them sugar water, and the kids will be fine. This way makes it possible for them to not feel pain because they are in that state of hypnosis. That state of brainwave activity is most prominent at this age. And during that stage of growth or development of the brain, there are no critical thinking, no judgment. The child has no critical thinking, is not capable of any judgment at all. This state of mind, this state of the brain activity, which is most prominent at this age, is regarded as that, a programmable state. That is the state where the child just soak it in. You can program the child. This is why at that age, when you smile at the child is observing the parent, will start to look at you, observing you. In a few weeks, 2, maybe 4 weeks, the kid will start smiling back when you smile. When he sees your face, recognized face, the child will smile. This is the state that is very, very critical for us to remember as we go on. The other type of wave is the theta wave, which exists between 2 to 6 years of age. This is the realm of imagination, daydreaming. They're still not able to show any signs of critical or rational thinking, but it's a state that we call a super learning state. You can suggest things to them. They will hear and just retain what oh, you are beautiful. Oh, you're the best. Oh, I love what you did there. Oh, you are a big boy. Oh, look at you. I like it. Can you sing that again? All those things are very, very important. These waves, the information that the child gets at that stage, are going to the subconscious of that child. So when the Jesuits many, many years ago say, give me a child, and now, between the age of 0 and 7, and I will show you the man, they have realized this. And for those of us who are into, the Bible, we also are aware that, there's a portion of it that talks about, show a child the way that it should go, and it will follow, it will not depart from it. So this is very, very critical in what we want to talk about today, because whether it is screen time, whether it is sleep, this is very, very important to understand. The realm of imagination, for those of us with kids at home, you see your daughter or your son playing by themselves. They will make toys, they will give it a name, they are brushing their teeth, they are changing their diaper, they are putting them to bed. Realm of imagination. The next phase is the alpha wave, which you find between the age of 5 to 8. This is when these waves start becoming more prominent. This is when analytical mind begins to form. This is when the child can interpret situation, abstract thinking, they can draw conclusions from the environment. Is the most relaxed state that the brain can be, the alpha wave, the most relaxed state. So what does that mean? It means you're actually using, the two sides of your brain. When you're watching TV, some of us can be so into what we're watching at times that people will call you and you don't even hear them. You are in that reality of what you're watching. You're very relaxed, and it's actually considered to be the best time to learn. It's the best time to learn. So what does that mean? This is where you want your child to be. You want your child to be in that state of relaxation for them to be able to learn. So when the child is stressed, I'm a Nigerian, and I know that we're very quick to do this. I don't know about some of the other participants who are with us this morning. Well, where we yell at children, come on, go and do that thing. Where are you coming from? And we get to a child where the child is frightened, and the child is, when daddy comes in, daddy is yelling, mommy comes in, mommy is yelling, and it could be because we're also stressed. When that is transferred over to the child, and that child cannot be in that state of relaxation, that alpha wave, it's a struggle. So this is this way that you want to be in when you're learning. It is when you have a lot of brainstorming, you can come up with a lot of ideas. The beta wave is more common in adults. It's conscious, analytical thinking. Our mind is very awake. We're capable of logical thinking. This is where adults will spend most of our time. So it's very important to retain this, because you will realize as we go on, and to be the basis of my own explanation and rationale behind some of the conclusions that I have drawn as a parent. What are the outcome research of heavy use of media? It's a large body of data, but it's been said that there is incidence of increase of obesity and language and emotional delays. And if you think about it, where a child is spending a lot of time just doing that on the media, spending time there, and have no time to interact, have no time to do a lot of things. Some things are going to be in deficit. As we're growing up, you go out on the street, you go out with your cousins, you fight, you make up. You learn what is appropriate. Grandmother corrects you, or your uncle corrects you. Somebody tells you, oh, you can't do that. And this is the way that you learn. So the study maintains that for those who spend a great amount of time doing just that, just sitting down, we have that problem here, and not spending time with physical activities, there could be a problem there. When it comes to attention, that is a little mixed. The data on that is mixed, because you have to be, the deficit that's been noticed when it comes to attention with the use of media is that there are definite issues with short-term attention, right? So you're doing a lot of things. You're switching from one thing to the other. Oh, I'm watching this show. This is not good. I want to watch another one. I saw that with my own children, with the use of media, where it's always the next thing. This is not, I'm not feeling this anymore. Let me go to the next one. I'm not feeling this. Let me go to the next one. The last 2 points here are very critical. Heavy use of media, not just routine 30 minutes, use. Heavy use of media devices. Again, media is TV, is tablet, is mobile phone, is YouTube, anything of that nature that's interactive. Heavy use of it is associated with preference for smaller and more immediate reward. And the last point here is it's also associated with activation of the related, reward brain region, which has issues for psychological well-being. Let me try to expand on these 2 points. We all do this. We send messages on your WhatsApp to people. You're working on your desk. What do? You grab your phone. You're looking at your phone. As you read my message, you don't see those 2 blue marks. You put it down, continue. You grab it again. It has not read it. Or how many people have read it? How many people have commented on what I said? Before, it's an interaction between me and my brother. Now it's the interaction between me and 16,000 people. This is not to shame us. This is not to put us down. We're trying to look at what data says and look at how we can help our children. If you can imagine us doing that with our own devices, and we are set in our ways, the implication for the preference for smaller, more immediate reward is not good. Before social media, there was a very popular and very important study that was done that is called the marshmallow experiment. If you have time, you can look it up. In the marshmallow experiment, what was demonstrated is scary. They gather preschoolers, age of 2 to 5, in a room at various times, and offer them, marshmallow. That experiment has been repeated using different things. Some have used cookies. They gave them marshmallow, and they said to the kid, hey, you have this one marshmallow. If you can wait 5 minutes, you will get a second marshmallow. And then they left the kid in the room and went out, and they were timing them. And they videoed these kids, and the kids will have the marshmallow in their hand looking at it. Some will play with it and waited for 5 minutes because he's waiting for that reward to get the second marshmallow. They extended it. If you wait another 10 minutes, you get a third marshmallow. And some of the kids were able to do it. They recorded all these findings, including the kids who took their own marshmallow and ate it in the first 30 seconds. I'm not going to wait for that 5 minutes. I just want to have this now. They followed them for 20 years. My friends and fellow parents, what they found out in 20 years was bad and was very, very rebellious. In 20 years, the children who were able to wait, who were able to defer that sense of immediate reward and gratification, were noted to be more successful, more stable home, great jobs, great education, the ones by far, and I mean, it was a significant finding, who were not able to wait, but wanted that immediate reward, smaller reward, but immediate, were noticed with a higher, incidence of alcoholism, drug abuse. I mean, all kind of things that we do not want for our children. So this is very important. This association with preference for smaller, more immediate reward. Your child wants something, takes it, gets it. I want to watch now. I want to use it now. I want to go on this device now. Oh, what is going on there? Oh, this is happy. I like this. Let me watch this. Let me watch that. That preference is the one that actually concerns me the most as I raise my own children. Associated with reward bring, region of the reward zone of the brain, it's also very important. This does not, go well for psychological well-being. What does it matter if I posted something on WhatsApp? What does it matter if 16 people read it? What does it matter if, only one person read it? It was enough to have a conversation with my family, with my friends, who I can look at, face to face. Now I'm watching my phone to see how many people commented, how many people have read what I wrote. That reward part of the brain. If nobody read it, even though you have 500 friends and only 2 people read it, there is an impact on your psychological well-being about, why aren't they commenting? Why are they not? So this is something to bear in mind. So despite all these research outcomes, remember we said that there are some benefits, there are some opportunities, but there are contexts. Okay, one thing that we must not do is that we must not overreact. We're not going to gather all these devices and bury them. They are here to stay. It's a part of our life. And it will help for those of you who are, I've heard of the name of a man called Warren Buffett before. Here's a man who is one of the richest men in the world, does not have a smartphone. He stayed away from technology. He says, for many years, I don't understand it. I'm not going to get into it. But some few years ago, he made billions and billions of dollar investment in the shares of Apple. And when they asked him why, he said it's very, very sticky. How many times people are reaching for their phone, several times a day. The average number is 80 times a day. We reach for our phone. We want to check it. Anybody calls, anybody emails, anybody texts me, what's going on WhatsApp, what's going on Facebook, what's going on that. So he recognized that he's making money of that, yet he does not have one. So we are not going to overreact. It's here to stay. One of the things we can do is to teach our children from early age that those devices are not toys. They are not, things to play with. No, mommy works with this, daddy works with this. This is not a toy. And it's also important for us as parents. Again, we are not here to shame ourselves. I'm a parent. I have learned from this. I'm learning from it. Is to be a good role model. Studies have shown that parents can model for the child what is proper use of media and devices. So if you see a mom or a dad who is on the phone several hours a day, even while driving, your child, remember in that delta wave, is observing you, is looking at what you're doing. You're telling the child to do some work or to do something, and we are on the phone. We are there, every night while we're eating, we're on the phone. While we're, in church, we're on the phone. Well, we are to burden ourselves to be good role model for those children. Very, very important, because they are observing us. They are in a state of hypnosis. Everything we do, they are observing it. So it's not enough for me to look at my child and say, you're using that too much. Come on, you can't do that. I have to be a role model, because what I'm doing, my child is observing me very, very closely. This is part of living. This is what we must do. It's also important for us to use judgment and to pay attention. So judgment meaning for, a child who's like 9, 10, should have some time on media device to spend time there to use. Maybe, consistent times will be set for that child. But if you're on a plane ride from Lagos to Kano, or from, wherever, it's okay for the child to be on the device. That is just judgment. It's a long flight. Let him use it. That's okay. If you're chatting with your cousins, you're chatting with your family members in another part of the country or the world, that's okay. That is not necessarily, to be counted as exposure to too much, media device. Let's pay attention to what, you're looking at. I can share with you that my own children, at least the teenagers, evolved from where I could give it to them and take it. And then, oh, daddy, this is good, I want to show you this. This is very useful. Okay, yeah, let's download that. To where they took over the device completely. And when they got into their laptop, oh, it's for schoolwork, right? The school is saying they're using laptops, so you get them a laptop. Nighttime, I want the laptop. Gradually, you're not doing that. You have the password on it, you have the admin on it to try to control what you're doing. But what happened? My children kicked me out several times. They reset the laptop, they became the administrator, so they can download whatever they want. When I figure that out, I will take it, I will reset it back, I'll make myself the administrator. Over time, my children know more about computer than I do. One of them in particular did something where I can't do anything to that computer. I can't change anything. It completely locked me out. So I have to find out what else, could I do? What I have done in my own, to promote bedtime, to promote family time, is that I have a device, it's a software, where I can shut down internet to any device in my network. I just shut it down. And once they see that it's not working, they know that it's at work. They can't, I'm not going to even mess with the computer anymore. I just shut down their access. And I do not have any TV in the room. We have only one TV, and it is in the basement where everybody can sit down and watch. If you want to watch it, go down to the basement. There's nothing in the room, nothing in the family room. So judgment and paying attention is important. Anything we can do to foster family time, it's good for us at various times in the week to say, put our devices away. And we have to consciously do this because remember, delta waves, we are modeling for these children. If we have that device in our hand every time, sometimes we have 2 devices, and we're going to be telling the child, do as I say, don't do as I do. It's not going to work. Family time is important. Bedtime is important. And that is the reason why I got that, software that control my kids' access to the internet. Once it is 10 o'clock, I shut it down. They will have to ask me, Daddy, I need to do my homework, and I'll see the homework. Okay, all right, I'll give them 30 minutes extra. I can monitor which side they're going into. I know where they are. I know what they're browsing. Anything that I don't want them to browse, I shut it down on that device. So it's important to realize that these things are not going to go away, and we have to be good role models, use judgment, pay attention, and help our children to foster real-life relationships. It's not enough to just, be on the devices for several hours a day and miss out on the important part of human development. So what are the specifics that has been recommended? For children that are less than 18 months, the recommendation is to avoid screen-based media except for video chatting. Maybe grandma wants to talk to, Jemima. Maybe grandma wants to talk to Ovie and say, hey, here's grandma. Hi, grandma. Video chat. Why? Because less than 18 months, these children are in delta waves. They're in a state of hypnosis. Their eyes are open, but trust me here, they are not capable of transferring those 2-dimensional images studies have shown into 3-dimensional. They cannot, draw anything out of it at below the age of 18 months. So it's really a very constant and recommendation that does not change. Between 18 to 24 months, it has changed a little bit. It used to be that less than 2 years, the American Academy said no to screen-based media except for video chat. But now they're saying below 18 months and allow by recommendation that between 18 to 24, you can watch or allow the kids to watch high quality programs with a parent. The evidence shows that when the mom or the dad watches that show with the child and explain to the child what's going on, maybe it's A, B, C, maybe it's A for apple. Oh, that is A. You know what an apple is? This is an apple. You show him that interaction with that child, with the parent, it's said to provide the most value. To just give the device to the child as a form of comfort is dangerous. To just say, here, I'm gonna sleep. Here, I got something to do. Keep yourself busy. Is to be avoided. For those preschool children between the age of 2 to 5 years, the recommendation is about 1 hour a day of high quality programs. Now, let me add quickly here, that 1 hour in a day, the recommendation is to avoid doing that hour before bedtime. So when you have a child with a very bright screen who is on the bed, who has their devices on, the bright light that is shining constantly in that last hour on the bed affects your ability to sleep well. It doesn't change some of the things from the way your brain interprets the time of the day. And that leads to poor sleep, which is part of what we want to talk about. And that leads to, if you don't sleep well, it's going to affect your performance. If you don't sleep well, other bodily functions are going to be affected. So that 1 hour per day is best to do it way before bedtime. You can pick your own time, but avoid doing it when it's 7 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock, it's time for Junior to go to bed, and then here is the device to keep yourself busy, but stay in your bed. Oh, he'll fall asleep. That light that's shining alters a lot of things in the body, in the brain, particularly the light, and changes the sleep quality for that child. For those who are 6 years and above, the recommendation is to have consistent limit on time spent. And I know we're all very busy, and it's hard to keep up with it, right? Because you come in, you don't know what you're going to meet. You're at work, you don't know what you're going to meet at home. And that's where there's a lot of flexibility in having what we call a family media plan, which you make with dad, you make with mom, you make as a family. It's a contract, but be consistent. When it became very challenging for me, where at times my brain is occupied with what I still have to do for work, even though the work day is over technically, but my work is still in my head. That is what is on my mind. I had to resort to, that app that allows me to control, where the kids go, how many hours they spend on the computer. I can program all those things on the app and just limit the time. And that is what I had to do to keep it consistent for the kids. When it comes to sleep, sleep is very, very important. And I think this will be, I guess, the last slide here. Sleep is very, very important. And sleep has implication for a lot of things. It has implication for memory, for learning. I don't know if you will agree with this, but it's true that if you do not sleep, even though we all crammed before those exams in school, we stayed up late at night, but studies have shown that for all those things that we crammed the night before the exam, most of it we don't remember. Like we go into the exam, as soon as the exam is over, it's gone. Sleep is important in multiple ways. One of the ways by which it's important is that it is restorative. even though we are sleeping, but a lot of things are happening in our body. So the brain, which we talked about, for children, they are in a state of hypnosis between the age of 0 to 2, and you could see up to 5 as well. Even though some of the theta waves are coming in, that sleep, you notice for your newborn, they sleep all day. They will sleep all night. They just sleeping and sleeping. By the time they get to about 5 months, 6 months, they start. They'll be, before then. Sorry, they are more awake. They are awake at night, feeding, and then they will sleep all day. But gradually, they will start to get to a state where they sleep, through the night. Usually by 5, 6 months, they start to sleep through the night. When we go to bed, even though we are resting, when somebody's sleeping, you lift their arm, the tone is low. That's the body's resting. And that's important because to maintain our posture, our muscles are contracting. They're working, even though you're not walking, but to just maintain your posture alone, there's an increase in your tone. So, but when you rest, the muscles are resting. There's decrease in the amount of energy that you're consuming. Your heart rate goes down. That's very, very important. Your respiratory rate goes down. All these things are energy consuming. So what does that mean? It means there's enough energy for other parts of the body, particularly your brain, especially in the case of children, for their brain to grow. The fastest part of the body that is growing in human being between the age of 0 to 2 years is the brain. The brain is the fastest part of the body growing. It's not their arms, it's not their legs, it's the brain. Once that brain grows, that's why they measure their head circumference. So sleep is important for that as they sleep. When you go to bed on time, when anybody goes to bed on time and get adequate amount of sleep, you notice I'm not talking about the hours here, I'm just talking about sleep so that we can look at the screen and look at the recommendation for the duration that is of hours recommended. But trying to talk about the benefit of sleep around these hours. One of the other things that happen during sleep is that there's a part of the brain that's called the hippocampus. That part of the brain has been recognized to be very, very important in our development of memories. So there's short-term memory, there's long-term memory. What really helps us, what really qualifies as education and knowledge is that long-term memory. You could read anything, someone can explain anything to you now and tell you, hey, here's the spoon, you're supposed to eat with the spoon. This is what you do, right? If you have no hippocampus and you were given that spoon again, someone will have to remind you that you're supposed to eat with a spoon. That may sound very simple, but it's true. What the hippocampus does is that when we go to bed, during sleep, it organizes all the short-term memories that we've acquired through, reading, classroom attendance, any form of education, activities, house cleaning, this is what we do when we see this is not supposed to be here, pick it up, put it away, put your shoes there, and the hippocampus organizes all the short-term skills, knowledge, and consolidate them and put them in our long-term memory for recall. Another thing that the hippocampus does, so you can start to see the relationship, of the brain to sleep, to screen time, is that it's one of the parts of the brain that is highly associated with our emotion. So what do we remember the most? We remember a lot of things that makes us happy. We remember a lot of things that makes us sad. So if while we're in school, you go climb, the fence because you sneak out of the dormitory, in restricted hours, and you were caught, and you were asked to come to the principal's room, and you got some strokes of the cane, that inflicts a lot of pain. Your hippocampus tells you why that happened. And it keeps that memory there for you. You learn what is wrong about that with the consequences. I mean, with the action. The consequences you can relate with the action. Likewise, when you are being recognized, someone tells you, hey, you did very well there. I didn't know that you explained this to me. Or say, hey, I like the way you explained the concept in this, subject to me. I like the way you approach it. Can you explain that to me again? And you take your time to explain. You're happy. Somebody's benefiting from your knowledge. That hippocampus, which is very, very intimately connected to our emotion, is said to be at its best. So if you're not resting and you're stressed and you're not happy, we talk about, that alpha wave, ability to learn, at least for recall, is going to be a problem. So the hippocampus is very, very important with our emotions. So if we're trying to get our kids to learn and we are stressing them out in terms of, hey, words that we say to them, we're upset with them and they're so stressed, they're fidgety. It's difficult for that child to learn well during our time. If you think about our kids, I mean, they go to daycare, they come home, and you'd be amazed sometimes about what they have learned, how much they know. And they're happy, they're playing, they're doing it, they're brushing their teeth, and they're telling you things. I'm like, where did you learn that? They play a lot, and they're also happy. So there's a happy part of learning that the hippocampus mediates, and that is promoted by good sleep. The other thing that sleep does is that it also helps our immune system. It helps our immune system. If you get adequate amount of sleep, your immune system is, the better for it. If you're not, there's a lot of unhealthy situation there. So for those of us who are adults, where we are not getting our 8 hours of sleep, after a while it catches up with you. When you're driving, you're nodding several times, and the risk for accident is there. The risk of poor quality work is there. Lack of concentration. So for kids who are not sleeping well, there are consequences. Poor performance in school. So for those of us with kids who are in school age years between 6 to 12, 9 to 12 hours is recommended. They're going to be in school for 8 hours. When they come home, unfortunately for some of us, which is true for our generation, we're working late. Transportation is an issue. We're stuck in traffic. But recommendation is between 9 to 12 hours of sleep. And whatever we can do to promote that, if we can't get it during the week, maybe over the weekend to get it. Children, you can't stop them. They're going to nap. Yeah, they're going to nap. And we are all mom and dad. They're going to sleep. Whether you have them in the car or you have them on your hand, they'll get that thing going because their brain is in that delta wave state. And I wanted to just kind of give that overview to allow us to have a basis for questions or contribution. And I'll turn it over to Ediri. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sobande. That was very, very insightful. Thank you. So now we're going to the Q&A session. We have a few questions to ask. And we have questions in the chat room. Participants have been sending their questions, comments, and it's awesome. Okay, so the first question is about the slides. The slides are so rich, and the participants are asking if they'll be able to have access to the slides.
Absolutely, I'll be happy to share that with you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sobande. So there you are, everyone is happy to share the slides so we can always refer to it. Okay, the first question I have here, from a mom And I think a lot of moms are guilty of this one. As you said, is it safe to put a phone, a device, in front of a little child to get them to eat? Because sometimes they don't want to eat, and it's only when you put a device in front of them, they are watching, looking at a show or something, and then they are able to eat. Is it safe? Is it a good practice? Thank you.
I think that particular question is, if you remember what we talked about children being in a state of hypnosis, where you look at, you think that child has a critical thinking going on between that age of 0 to like 4. 7 years old. They really don't. So you are promoting short-term gratification. You are promoting short-term gratification when you do that. If a child needs, look, the child, when the child will eat. I dealt with that with my, I think my second child. And, you know, the good thing that is mom and I had an agreement on that. We're not gonna force him. He will eat. He will eat. One of my nieces will not go to bed, which is something similar. She will be on her daddy's phone at bedtime. And she came here to spend time with us, and I just told my mom was with us, and I told her that it's not going to happen. We put her to bed. She cried and cried and cried for 3 days. It might sound like torture, but she wasn't hurting herself. We put her to bed. By the 4th day, she would sleep. So the more you promote that, the more if you remember the physiology that their brain is in a state of delta, it's just hypnosis. You're programming them. The more of it you do in that state, you're programming them to say yes. So the same way when they go out of your house and go to daycare, go to other people's places, when they want something, they want it now. If they don't get it, they're not going to do what's expected of them. So it's tough love. It's not if the kid is not hitting his head on the wall, it's not going to kill himself. I don't think we should. I don't think we should.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sobande. So the next question I have here, a parent is asking, how can I manage screen time for my children since they are of different age? So she has children of different age, and she's asking how she can manage he or she.
Yeah. So what I did, this is the beauty of technology. What I did two things. And again, I'm not the model. I'm just sharing. We're all trying to share our own experience. Is that one? I made sure that there are no TV in the room. There's only one TV, which everybody has to wait their turn to watch their show. And then when the kids got onto devices, I got this app that is called Circle. That app allows me to control a lot of things. The way it works is that I got a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and I got a 7-year-old. So their devices, when they're connected, I can identify. I label it, this child's name, that child's name. And then on each devices, I put settings in there. Age-appropriate stuff. This is what Adiola can watch, set. On that device, you cannot go to any other place except for something that is customized for her. And the availability of internet on that device is also set. So if she picks it up, I mean, it's beautiful to see now. I have to pay for it. I think it's about $49 a year. When she picks up the device and she tries to activate it, it doesn't work. Now, she doesn't even come to me. She just puts it down. And then she goes back to it later on and it's working. And then while she's on it, the alert will come that you have 45 minutes more. Or it will say you've exceeded your time limit for the day. And she'll just put it down. She'll go and do something else. So starting it was the difficult part, but she'll keep coming, Daddy, can I watch a little bit more time? Or now she just put it down. So that's what I did to control the access for different age group, of my kids. I use that app to customize access, customize time. So on weekends, I give them, longer time is between 12 and 3. And, for the kids, if they have homework, I will extend it. And I can tell which side they are on the app. But the most important thing is to answer the question. I'm using a device, a software called the Circle. I identify each child's device on that, and I can control how long and what they see on that device.
Thank you. Okay. Someone actually asked that question about control, and I think you've answered a bit of it. The person is asking, the parent is asking, can we get some of these tools you just mentioned on control? They want to know some of those tools that.
Yeah. So one is called the Circle. So if you have an internet router, the router that has the one that I use, we're not promoting any router here. The one that I use is the Netgear. The Netgear router. I think the model is the Orbit type, Orbit. And if you look at the box, make sure that it says that it has the Circle. It's a Disney product. Disney actually made it. It's called the Circle. CIRCLE. The Circle. I don't know if I can show you. If you can see this actually on my.
Plenty questions.
Let me see if I can show you this.
Question 5.
It's on my phone here.
We have 15 minutes more.
So I have this is my Circle. So this app here, I don't know if you can see this.
Yes, we can see.
You can see?
Yeah. Yes.
Can you see? Okay, so this is the Circle. It's coming up now on my phone.
Okay.
So when I put it on, so it's coming up, and then here are the devices. You see all the devices? These are for my children. They are all restricted.
Okay.
They are restricted. I can do a lot of things with it. I can manage. I can go into a device and say, how much time I want that person to spend there. I can do anything with it. I can.
Okay.
So it's called the Circle, and that's what I used.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have so many questions pouring in, but we'll take as many as we can take. And please, parents, if we're not able to take your question, there'll be another session. We'll have subsequent sessions. But let's take the questions and see what we can do with the time that we have left. Dr. Sobande, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm reading some of the questions. If you authorize me to answer, there is a question here about TV in the family room. How do you avoid them watching adult movie films rated 16, 18, etc. and all of that? The restrictions on adult movies, my smart TV is on this app. So what I did is that I placed the TV under the restriction for the children. So they cannot watch, some shows. My 17-year-old, will come to me, Daddy, I can't watch this show because you blocked it. Well, I didn't block it. It's because it has something I don't want anybody to see. That is the age where you start to have conversation with your children about what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. And I'm able to get a lot done with this app. I'm not promoting this app, but it has really been a lifesaver for me because everything here that is internet, the smart TV is connected to this. So they can go down there, put it on. After they tried and it's not coming, they will settle for what they can watch. They just, I can't watch that. I can't watch that. Oh, you blocked it, Daddy. I can't watch that. And there are TV shows or movies that we watch that will have certain things in there that it's not appropriate for them. I say, well, this is not appropriate. We should not be watching this. In fact, I have Kunle telling me the other day, that movie is not appropriate for his sister. That is true. Thank you, Kunle, for saying that. I reinforce him that you were right, I'm wrong. we turned it off. We changed to another thing. So that is just part of modeling and watching with them and being a guide to what they say.
Thank you. So our next question is it okay for the child, if a child does not take naps, but the child gets the recommended sleep hours at a stretch at night, a 3-year-old child, precisely. Is it okay for the child not to take naps in the afternoon?
Yeah, so if a 3-year-old, if you can get the recommended hours, that is fine. You know, if you can get the recommended hours, that is fine. So I think this is where tailoring it to the family lifestyle. We all have different dynamics. Some people work from home. Some people have to get up at 5 and you have to drop the kid at daycare. So this is where we cannot be rigid. We have to adapt. You know, the goal is we want this child to sleep. And if we can't get it, you know, during certain time, like getting nap, then try to get it, you know, at another time. Because growth is important. That child is growing and they need to be getting that sleep. It's an important part of growth for them.
Okay, thank you very much. So another question here. When is it too much to watch TV? Does it matter if the program being shown are educational and child-friendly?
And so this is the consistency. So if the program is, we talked about the opportunities, the content. If it's educational, I watch a lot of documentary. We will binge on documentary on quantum mechanics. We'll binge on documentary on artificial intelligence, which is about 2 hours. And then we'll watch, you know, documentaries of people, because as your children are getting older, you stop being their heroes. Daddy and mommy, you're no longer their role model. They are looking out for, you know, this hurts us as parents, but they start to look at other people. So you find the right, you know, role model for them. If it's a sport personality that I know that my children likes, and there's a documentary on his biography, I'll let them watch so that they see what he struggled with, how he overcame, what his work ethic is. So it's not just a blanket rule. As the child is getting older, the content and the design becomes important. So we're not trying to make media out to be a bad thing. You can use it to promote your values. So if you're watching something that's educational, I mean, there's a program on how things work. There's a program called Brain Games that I will watch with my daughter. And we'll sit down there, we'll watch like 1 hour, 2 hours of it. And it's all kind of ways that we, you know, how the brain works. And one of the ones we watched recently was how she said, you know, Daddy, so you can't do more than one thing at a time. You can only do one thing at a time. You can't do multiple things at a time, you know. So I tell her, well, that's why you focus, you know. That is what she learned from that brain game. So if it's educational, if it's something that is good, yeah, you can watch that. And you're there with them, you're interacting, you applying it, you letting them, helping them to find application for what they are learning, what they are watching in real life. That's the thing. And that emotion and actually telling them, you know, you do that sometimes, which is very good. That happy context facilitates their recall. You are reinforcing good habits. You know, exposing them to good models. So yes, that's not something bad.
Or will that add up to screen time? So that's what the parent also wants to know. Will that add up to screen time?
No. That is where the judgment comes in. For me, it does not add up to screen time for them. Okay. If I'm there with them, I let them do. See, we have to be. You don't want to be controlling. Where you know, no. So it does not add up. That's where the judgment comes in. It's my way of interacting with my children. Sometimes, you know, I mean, before I would say, well, let's go watch this movie. Now I can't do that. My 17-year-old, I'm not interested. What are you going to do? You're not going to grab them down there. So I'll say, hey, what are you thinking about this day? Well, what are you learning? Anything new you can teach me? Or what have you learned? Any new sign? Any something fun? And you say, you know, I read about this thing. Oh, well, astrophysics. Oh, that should be a documentary on that. You know, have you seen any documentary on that? Oh, it would be nice to watch. And that will lead to an opportunity to spend time with them. We'll go down, we'll pull up documentary on astrophysics, we'll watch it together.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Doctor. There's another question from a parent here. I sort of homeschooled my daughter, who is 4-year-old now, and most of the materials I used were videos. She recently began attending regular school and it reduced drastically. But with the lockdown, I still use apps that use video app. I agree with all you have said, sir, but how do I balance my clinics here with recent happenings and learning for my child? How do I balance it?
I think she already answered the question. You know, she is there. She's using it. She's using the app with her child to learn. She's using the app with her child to learn. You know, what we're saying is the content, the context. So when she's not just giving the child, you know, the device to use and not paying attention to what the child is doing. She is there as a parent. Remember, that is part of the recommendation, that it's good to have a parent with it. She's 4. She's still at that age where she's programmed for, you know, just to kind of, you know, you're exposing her to things. Mom is there. I'm reading the question. The amount has decreased drastically, but you can use it because you are there. It's part of her learning. You are there. Studies in research favors that to be highly, highly beneficial to the child. You're mute right now, Ediri. You're mute, I can't hear you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sobande. So there's another question here. It's still on control. Do I need to have 2 circles for me and my wife as per payment? I think they want more about circle.
It's just one. It's just one. If you have one, mommy can have it, daddy can have it on your device, and every device will be connected to that one network, and you can do any control on one. You don't need to pay for 2. No, you know, it's just one. It's the same router that you're going to use for your internet. It's on the router. So it's a beautiful device. I mean, it's a lifesaver, you know.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sobande. Okay, another question. I have a son of 15 years. He's 15-year-old that has a phone. Will it be nice if the parent says, will it be nice if I seize his phone for some hours?
I think this is where contracting comes in. When you contract with the child, and when you do not make the phone from, like ab initio, the phone is not a right. You know, the phone is a privilege for certain responsibilities. In my practice, I've seen kids 12 who has mobile phone devices, and one particular child is 12 years old. He has 7 email addresses. A 12-year-old has 7 email addresses.
Whoa.
And a mom would go into the room, and because these kids are smart, and he's creating new email addresses, and mom would go into the room and see, when he falls asleep, and see pornography on these devices. He's 12 years old. And when you try to talk to him about it in clinic, several times he will get up and storm out of the clinic. It's tough.
Whoa.
You are fast forwarding this child to be an adult. You told him he's not paying for the phone. You're the one who's paying for the phone. So I think the phone should not be a right. I think the phone should be a privilege. There's a contract in place for certain things. And communication, hey, call me, text me. You know, some of these phone companies here at least have ability to control. And instead of seizing the phone, in this case, find out if, your phone company, or there's an app where you can actually set the time when they can receive text or send text, and in terms of physically controlling, taking the phone, it depends on how it starts. I mean, I think it's not too late to have a reset for that child and say, you're not paying for this. I'm paying for it. It's my phone. I'm giving it to you to use to communicate so that, you can reach me. But the use of it is still something that I'm responsible for. And you have it as a privilege. It's not a right. And I think that's how I would frame that. And for those of us who are here to get phone for our kids, I think you want to maybe put consideration into, finding out if you could restrain some of the time that the phone will shut down and they can't do anything on it at night. I think Sprint offers that here. They can send text, they can receive text. If they're in your house, on your network, they can go to certain places, they can go to social media. When they go to another place and they join a different network, that's different. So this is the thing that we have to negotiate. But for this specific question, I think really finding who owns the phone, who's paying the bills, he who pays the piper, calls the tune kind of situation. Have a contract in place. If that contract is violated, this is the contract we have. And it's part of teaching them responsibility as they go on to adulthood. We'll deal with that when we are at work. There are expectations that our boss have of us. You cannot go to certain website on your job. If you did, you're going to be fired. You
Yes.
tell them that. So I'm not telling you to do something that I'm not doing. It's just,
Yes.
And I think if the child can get that consistent message, either from the beginning or even now, I think things can still work out very well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Another here, how early should one get a phone for a child? What's your recommendation for that?
Yeah, let me answer this question. I have 3 children. My daughter, my last child, is 7, and she's telling me that, Josie has a phone at school. And I told her to ask her brother, when did your brother get a phone? And the brother, told her, well, I got a phone when I was 12. And I said, what type of phone did you get? Not just a phone. Tell her the type of phone you got. I got him a flip phone. A flip phone. There's no smart anything on it. It's just to call and to text. That's what I got my 12-year-old son. That is what he still has. And I think the older one lost that phone. I bought another one. He lost it again. And I said, I don't have money to buy another one. He needs to go get a job. If he gets a job, he can buy another phone himself. And that is what I have done. For me, it's the thing that we have to deal with. They have peers at school who have a phone at 7 and 8. I won't do that. I'm not doing that. And I have a model in my own house. I've told her to ask her brother. Her brother said, I got it at 12, and this is the phone that I got. It's a flip phone. You just call daddy, call mommy, call grandma. And I'm watching to see, when I'm ready to go to smartphone for him, don't gang up on me. He's going to have to work to get that. I'm not buying that. When he will have to get his brother start working so he can get that way.
That's tough love.
I'm not
tough
doing
love. You show them love, but tough love.
I'm not getting the child smartphone.
Thank you, sir. I think we have like 2 minutes to answer 2 more questions. Okay, there's one here that says, can we get a sample of the contract? It would be appreciated. The contract you talked about. A sample of the contract would be appreciated, and access to other resource materials that are to the public. So
the contracting is who is mom, who is dad, who is paying the bills, who is doing that. What is your role in the house as a son? What do you do? Oh, you know why I got you this phone? Because you were doing this, you were helping me. I wanted you to be able to have access to communicate with us if you need help while you're in school. And we don't have to do that. What I tell my own children is my responsibility. You can sue me for this. You can call the police. Is I give you a place to stay. I feed you. I give you clothing. I provide health insurance. Those are the things that I'm obligated to do. Xbox, it's a privilege. It's perks. Me giving you a right to drop you off at your friend's house is a perk. Me allowing you to spend, you have a 2 hour, we can go out and hang out with your friend, but by 7:30, I want you back at home. On a weekend, I'll extend that to 3 hours. All of that are perks. How you handle those responsibility, determines, that you're going to get more. It's in the contract that if you do those things and you are honorable, faithful, you tell the truth, you told me you're going to Joe's place, you are Joe's place, you told me you'll be back at 7:30, you're back at 7:45, all of that's working well, then you get more perks. And the child reads it, adds whatever he wants to add in there. And it's an important thing. You'll be surprised what they'll tell you. Oh, daddy and mommy, I don't, you do this, sometimes I don't like it, I don't. And then you look at it and say, okay, you give some ground. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that hurts you. Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm paying for this. You're not sleeping well. You're spending too much time on it. You're not doing your homework. Your grades are falling. And I'm feeling bad that I got this for you. I think maybe we need to, think about it and work together. And again, I struggle with this, but when I realized how much I was checking my phone, I took Facebook from my phone. I don't have Facebook on my phone. I don't have Instagram. I have WhatsApp on my phone. And on that WhatsApp, when I get any notification, normally all those things will show up here. I shut it down. I don't want to know when there's any notification. So, all those ding, 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 ding. So these things are there sometimes to help us. So if you send me a text on WhatsApp, I won't see it. I have to go into WhatsApp to see that I have messages. So that's the way to deal with the distraction for me. That's what I have done. When the child reads all of that and you have that contact, you could try it and do it for like 1 month, see how it responds. It has to be customized for your own household, for your own child. It's a contract, you want to validate what the child is doing well. You want to recognize it. You want to tell him where his strong points are, why you got the phone, why you're happy to pay for it, and that it's not a right. It is not a right. It's a privilege that you have given to him. And he earned it, but right now you're worried that it's having a deleterious effect. And you are responsible for that phone. Instead of taking it away, you're thinking, can we have some arrangement in place? So what that means is that while I'm telling my child to not spend all my time on phone, I'm not going to be in the family room also doing all of that on my own phone. And I'm saying to my child, you can't be on the phone. That is where the modeling becomes very important. That it's important. That is a very critical part of it. When I say get off the device, you'd spend, but I'm on that device. I'm on it. I'm doing stuff. So it becomes counterproductive. And these kids are they'll tell you. I tell my kids, you can't eat in your room. So guess who goes to his room with food sometimes? Daddy. I will take my food and I go up there. But I said to him, Daddy, but you told me you can't go to my room with food. You were doing it. The instinctive thing to do is to say, well, I'm Daddy. I stooped down and I said, oh, Adela, you're right. You're right. I'm wrong. Thank you for reminding me I'm wrong. I won't do that again. I validated her and I corrected my action. I took my food. I came down to eat. And that is the thing. And so it's important to recognize that they are watching us. They are watching. We are the model for them. So the same thing applies to phone. The same thing applies to a lot of things in our life. They're watching us. They're watching us.
Thank you, sir. So our last question for today is this. What is your opinion on sleepovers for children and teenagers?
Yeah, a very, very good question. So, if I send my daughter to Nigeria, so I'll go visit your uncle, I'll go and stay with your aunt. I know them, okay, their family. What I've told my children is that I need to know who and where you're going to be, with. I don't know what kind of behavior they have in their house. I don't know. So what I would like to do is that, can you ask your friend to ask his parents if I can come over? Not to sleep, but let's start with a visit first. Let me go there and visit with you. You go have a play date with your, Adiola's gone on a field like that. I'll go there. She's playing with, and sometimes they'll come here. We get to know each other. I ask them, and we find it intrusive when people ask us some questions, but, but for me, I had to get used to it very quickly. They will ask you very personal questions. So what do you do? So where are you from? So you ask them the same question. What do you guys do? What are your hours like? Is this okay with you? When you guys go to bed? Do you have a gun in your house? Things like that. You ask those questions. You get to know the parents, and thank God for Google. You find out about the parents. What do they do? I can find out somebody has a criminal record. I just put their names on there. You have a criminal record. Are you wanted anywhere? All those things are important. And if I see anything that's uncomfortable, I'll share with my kids and say, hey, I think only one parent, we had who, was arrested for beating somebody. And I told my son, I don't think we want to go there. I don't want to go there. And that was the end of that. Now, after that stage, a sleepover has not happened for my children beyond family circle. Sleepover doesn't happen beyond family circle. If they have a friend, if they have somebody, you'll meet Ediri, that wants to, come here and sleep over, I would tell that kid, we don't do sleepover, because if they come here to do it, then I have to reciprocate. And I said, I'm not ready for that. Yeah, because I don't know those people very well.
Thank you, Doctor. But please, we'll need to take just this one more question.
Okay.
Just this one more. So a parent is asking, how do we get our little ones to do their homework without having to spank them?
There's a place for spanking. I'm not going to deny my background and say, because I know that there's a connection between your brain and consequences. I know that. But what I would say to spanking is that for those with 0, 1, 2, 3, even up to 5 years preschool, you do not want to spank with your hand. You don't want to be hitting your kids with your hand. You don't want to do that.
Right.
Will associate that hand. Remember, they are in a state of hypnosis. Everything you do is you're programming them. You're programming them by your action, the way you talk to your wife, the way you talk to your husband, how you shout when you're talking, how you wake up in the morning, you are not dressed, you're walking around, eating with. They are taking it all in. So do not spank with your hand. They will associate the hand with spanking. Boom. They'll go to daycare and start beating people. What you want to have is the lawman. So the lawman is your little perk, cane that is, whenever they see that, they know that daddy is not happy, mommy is not happy. And it must come with a lot of, warning. And it could be a threat and not an actual experience. But remember, if they are not doing their homework, do not be rash and feel that by spanking them, they're going to do the homework. Find out if they don't like what you're asking them to do. If they don't like it, find out how you can help them. Try to make it a fun experience for them. Try to explore, because some things are dry and cut. Look, I don't like mathematics. I never liked math. Some things are just dry and cut. And try to make it fun. Try to, if you want them to count something, get colors, and let them finger paint. You want to count 5 and take 2 out, finger paint. red color, that is 1, 2, and then, how many is that? 5. Make it fun. Try to explore other things, other avenue to help them.
Okay.
Pay attention to other things. Is the child, comfortable? I have a friend who has an only child. And this is something that he's dealing with. He actually started to see a therapist. Okay, we went to the same med school in Nigeria. He has only one daughter, and he will call me and say, "I'm struggling," because whenever he's talking to her, his voice is high, and whenever he wants to teach the girl any, help her through any homework, the moment that he starts, the girl is fidgeting. I said, "You're gonna lose this child. You're gonna lose that girl, because his voice is like, what kind of nonsense is that? What are you doing?" No. Find out why. What is the child struggling with? Maybe they don't hear it. I have another friend who, after many years of what we're talking about, went to check the kid's ears. And the child is not hearing well.
Oh my. Wow.
Okay, I have another child who, he's not hearing well. That's a child who actually could hear, but they found out that his ability to process between hearing and his brain, is where the deficit is. So before we ask yourself, the child is playing, is active, but when the kid will not focus on doing the assignment, remember you were asking in your question that you're saying about attention. We're talking about focused attention, and there's also sustained attention. Sustained attention is what more important. That is about 2 to 3 minutes per age. So a child who is 4 years old, the attention span, sustained attention that is, should be about 8 to 12 minutes. So if you have the child sitting down there and doing a homework for like 50 minutes, it's not going to happen. So know that the sustained attention for that child, which increases as you get older, the rule of thumb is 2 to 3 minutes per age. So if you have a 7-year-old, about 14 to 21 minutes. So why not split the homework into like 7 minutes? Remember what we talked about the hippocampus and being happy? So 7 minutes, let the child do, maybe help them first. Start out, make it fun. When it's 7 minutes, give them a break. Because the way to increase and to sustain attention is to take a break. Do something fun and do jumping jacks. Do something that the kid will like. Can you, hey, I want to do abdominal crunches. The child will join you. And then go back to the homework. 7 minutes. Remember, 2 to 3 minutes per year of age. If the child is 7 and he's sitting down there for 40 minutes to do a homework, if he's not doing anything at all, find out if something else is wrong with the child. So spanking, I would say, should be reserved for a deliberate action where the child, directly and verbally tells you they're not going to do something, or walks away, or refuse to do something after you've ruled out other things. And I got spanked. I spanked my kids, but there was a time I told my children that you are now 10. I'm no longer going to spank you. So find out why. Find out why before spanking.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sobande. We still have other questions, but that's, that's all we can take. Do you have time for one more?
That's fine.
Okay. So this parent says, thanks for the presentation. I will appreciate if you can talk about learning styles for children under 7 years.
So there are, I think making it fun is important. I can't overemphasize that. Making it fun is important. Under the age of 7, remember we talk about the kid is in a state of hypnosis. They have no critical thinking. So the way you're going to teach them is by telling them things. It's okay to help them. You can't leave them with their homework. It's okay to help them. It's okay to sit down and pretty much do the homework with them over and over, and then give them opportunity for repetitions. But making it fun, it's important. Making it fun, it's important. If you're doing math, knowing that the child is not capable of abstract thinking, so their math is more of using things that they recognize. So the kid will recognize apple. You want to count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are apples. How many is this? You have to do it with the child first. There is the style will be largely dependent on the environment. Also, if you have distractions in the house, if mommy is doing the homework and dad is watching TV and stuff is going on, remember the child's attention span is 14 minutes. So there's a distraction going on. He's watching the TV, he's looking at the TV. Or do you have a study? You have a private library where you can be, where there's nothing distracting? Did the child sleep well? Did the child, has eaten? We are taking all these things for granted. We are assuming the ideal is there. Has eaten, has slept well, there's no distraction, and that the child has no problem with understanding. At the age of 7, there are good books that have been written. I can't recall the names, but I have experience through my own children, the type of work they give them, and I'll be wondering that, oh my God, yeah, I wasn't taught that way. I was taught in a different way. The way they teach them is it's fun. The fun part is important. The fun part is important. The fun part is important. And to relate it quickly to the question that someone just asked, which I think is important for a child who's 3 years old who has difficulty identifying numbers, I think that child should have his eyes checked, should have, ears checked to make sure that the child can hear, to make sure the child, does not have any visual, challenges. That would be the first thing to do for that child, to take that out of the way. Some kids, have refractive errors. So if you have the child reading and it's so close, and the refractive error can cause headache. For those of us who wear glasses, if you can't focus, that's why you see some kids with glasses. So if the child is reading something and it's hurting his eyes, he will be crying, he will be having headache. So it could be a refractive error. For the person, Agoho Okudalaye, who asks the questions about a 3-year-old that cries and all of that. So check his eyes, check his ears, make sure he has no refractive errors, make sure that it's not the child who needs glasses, make sure that his ears are fine, he's hearing, and he has no problem looking at closed, material to himself.
Thank you, Doctor. Again, and now this is the final one. The last question for the day. Please, parents, drop your questions. You have more questions, you can drop all your questions. Yes, in the chat room. We will compile your questions, we'll send to Doctor, and we'll get back to you and probably address these other questions in subsequent sessions. So for this last question, and this is the last one. Please, Doctor, I have a 3-year-old who finds it difficult to identify numbers. He doesn't like books at all. He feels it's work, and he cries each time book is mentioned. I get frustrated teaching him. Please, what do I do?
And I think I saw that question. That's why I was speaking to that. For a child looking at something at close quarters, I would, if this dad or mom has checked his eyes to make sure there are no refractive errors. There are kids who have difficulty looking at something that's very close to them. Has his eyes been checked? If his eyes has been checked and his ears have been checked, that's important. And I know the dad or the mom is saying that he can hear, he can talk well. Has his eyes been checked? You are having him to read. Refractive error, some people are far-sighted, some people are nearsighted. That thing can cause headache. It can hurt, the eyes. Check his eyes. Make sure his eyes are fine. And if his eyes are fine, finds out, when we say he doesn't like book, what does he like? How does he learn? But the eyes in this case should be checked. I always check the eyes of this young 3-year-old by an ophthalmologist.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sobande, for that very insightful session.
Yeah.
And we have learned a lot today. So much to take back home. Thank you. Thank you, participants, for your time. We had a great time, and I hope you had a great time too.
Thank you.
Subsequent sessions will notify you when we have the next session. Thank you, everyone. Have a very good day and have a great weekend ahead. Thank you.